Good afternoon. Today I will tell you the learning approach. Yesterday in my class I explained you the learning styles. Different types of learners are there from the learning styles point of view, and today I will explain the learning approach point of view, different types of learners. So, what do? Mainly we will do the approaches to learning and solo taxonomy. Now, approaches to learning, what is that? Students' approaches to learning is a theory that students will take a different approach to how they study, depending upon the perceived objectives of the course they are studying, right. So, the approaches, the two, the clinical studies, two educational psychologists, one is Ferenc Martin and Roger Saljo. Both of them, they divided, there are two distinct groups. One, those who took the understanding level of approach, that understanding level of approach, another who took the reproduction level of approach, only they reproduced, right. Understanding level of approach, they are known as the deep learner, and those who are just only reproduced to pass the exam, their motive, they are known as the surface learner. So, two components are there in the learning approaches. One is that the motive, another is the strategy. Motive is that why am I engaging in learning? That is the motive, and the strategy is how in this case will I go about my learning? That is the strategy. So, keeping this motive and the strategy, the surface learning, what's that? This learning tends to be associated with those learners who concentrate on memorizing, the rote learning. Okay. So, what the author wrote and the lecturer said. So, and it is a low level of cognitive level, low level of cognitive activities. So, these students, these are the strategic learners. What is the meaning of the strategic? Strategic learning can however be useful in certain cases, just before the exam to pass 1 and 2 points. Strategic learners in certain circumstances is useful. It may mean that the learner selects and prioritizes what they needed to learn. So, this year they usually in the 5 years question paper they see and they say this year this is very important. So, we have to pass the exam only this. So, he prioritize, right. So, these are the strategic level, right. So, what is the definition of this surface learning? Accepting new facts and ideas uncritically and attempting to store them as isolated, unconnected items, right. So, they just remember it, right. It leads to a superficial retention of material for examinations and does not promote understanding or the long term retention of knowledge and information, just to pass the exam. So, the characteristics of the surface level of learning, one is that try to learn in order to repeat what they have learned. Memorize information needed for assessment. Third point is make use of rote learning. Take a narrow view. They always take a narrow view and concentrate on detail, not the total overall view, no, only the narrow view, and fail to distinguish between principles and examples. What are the principles are there and the examples are there? Sometimes they can't relate it, just memorizing it to pass the exam. Tend to stick closely to the course requirements. What are the requirements in the course? Only that thing, not extra any other reading materials or any other they do not want, right. So, in that case they are motivated by the fear of failure. So, that is their aim to pass. So, they are the learning approach is the surface learning approach, and those learners are surface learners. So, what is the motive and strategy of the surface learners? Surface learners instrumental motive is main purpose is to meet requirements minimally and get a degree with pass only aspiration. That is the motive. What is the strategy? Tendency to rote learn, bare essential. So, that is the strategy. So, strategic, now this is the surface learning. The next type of learning, that is the strategic or the achieving approach to learning. Little difference from the surface to the achieving. Achieving means to get the good grade. More or less surface type, but to get the good grade, that is, sometimes some students get very good marks. We feel that they are very good student, but actually they may not, because only that the grade is very important to them. So, the strategic or achieving approach is that approach which students are said to take when they wish to achieve positive outcomes in terms of obtaining a pass or better in the subject. So, students, they taking this approach, the achieving approach. So, there some characteristics are there. One is intent to obtain high grades, right. Their main is to obtain high grades, organize their time and distribute their effort to greatest effect. Their time, they just calculate it and ensure that the conditions and materials for studying are for appropriate or not. If it is appropriate, they will study, but if it is any extra thing, they will not. Use previous exam papers to predict questions. Are alert to cues about marking schemes, whether they are very alert in this. So, that is the difference between the surface and the achieving. So, the motive of the achieving approach is based on competition and the ego enhancement. I am the first, my grade is 9 point something. So, that is the ego thing. So, attainment of highest possible grades, irrespective of that whether the material is interesting or not, it does not matter to them, right, to get the good grade. And what is the strategy? Is based on organizing one's time and content and behave as a model student. I am a model student. In that way, to get good marks, somehow they have to achieve this. Look at me attitude, always like that. So, the deep learning is different. What's that? It is an approach and attitude to learning where the learner uses higher cognitive level, that is analysis, the ability to analyze, ability to synthesize, ability to solve problem, case studies, the metacognitively, in order to construct a long term understanding. That is very important. So, it involves the critical analysis of ideas, linking them to already known concepts. Whatever they known concepts in the new area, they just link them, and the principles, they are using them, right, because they understand the concept, that is why they are using it, right. So, understanding can be used where? Problem solving, for problem solving in real life situation, unfamiliar context, new context, anywhere, right. So, the deep learner, if you know the principles, theories properly, then you can apply it or analyze it. So, it is a higher cognitive level of approach. So, deep learning entails a sustained, substantial and positive influence on the way students act, think or feel. So, the thing is that for the deep learners, the teacher's role is very important, because the teacher, teacher have to be is a role model, so that if you teach in such a way, so that the deep learners are motivated, and then they will read different books, different materials, different things, so that they can apply they can analyze, they can create this, right. So, deep learning promotes understanding and application for life, right. So, deep learners reflect on personal significance of what they are learning. they are autonomous, they virtually teach themselves. The deep learners, actually what I am learning, sometimes okay, so this is these things I learned, so okay, where I can apply, they are thinking on this, they automatically, you know, they just as if they are virtually, they teach themselves, okay, but they are also collaborative learners with higher metacognitive and the learning skills, but usually they are, you know, very much, you know, they give importance to the understanding level, not the marks, what marks they are getting, or you know, of course marks is there, but in that case the understanding approach is very important. So, what are the characteristics? Students who take a deep approach have the situation of understanding, engaging with operating and the valuing the subject. So, those students actively seek to understand the material, what I am repeatedly telling, that actively, you know, understand the material or the subject, interact vigorously with the content, make use of evidence, inquiry, evaluation. So, take a broad view, not the narrow view, the broad view, and relate to one another. The concept, they relate to one another. This is the deep learners approach. They are motivated not by the marks, but by the interest. Suppose to I will make something, that the robot, how I will make that, right. So, that their interest is like that. With different societies, nowadays the students in a different societies, they are doing, you know, mainly they are deep learning. So, they want to make, you know, like that, suppose an automobile, I want to make a car to a model car. So, how we will do that? In that case, only the pass house mechanism or the surface or achieving mechanism, it will not work. They have to apply it, right. Desire to learn. So, relate new ideas to previous knowledge. What are the previous knowledge? They are using it, and relate concepts to everyday experience. Tend to read and study beyond the course requirement. What are the course requirements? They always, you know, read more than that from different, nowadays in internet all the materials are there. So, they can read from anywhere, right, but they just want to do it. So, what is the motive of that? Study to actualize interest and competence in particular academic subjects. And what is the strategy? Wide reading and interrelation with previous knowledge. They are relating it. So, interrelation, right, that they can do. So, what is the difference between the deep and surface learning? In the deep learning, knowledge is constructed. The learners, they are constructing the knowledge, but in the surface learning, knowledge is received. So, learners learn by integrating new knowledge with the existing knowledge, right, in the deep approach. But here the surface learning, knowledge is transmitted, right, from the teacher to the student. So, knowledge, they are just only receiving it. So, this is the difference from the knowledge point of view for the deep learner and the surface learner. Deep learning search for meaning, but for the surface learner search for facts. And deep learner, this is the higher order cognitive skills, but in the case of the surface learner, this is the lower order cognitive skills. So, there is another is the intrinsic motivation, and deep learning is that intrinsic inside the motivation, right. But the surface learner, that is the extrinsic motivation. What is that in the case of? In the deep learning, we learn based what we feel we need to know, right. So, motivation should be a product of the teaching, right. So, the art of good teaching is very, very important to communicate the need these type of learners. But in the surface learner, it is extrinsic. So, in that case, motivation is the product of good, but not its prerequisite, right. Here, students are not unmotivated, but they are not responding to the methods that work for other students. They just only want to pass the exam, right. So, this is the difference between the, so it is clear that the surface learner, achieving learning and the deep learning approach. Now, levels of thinking. As we know, not all thinking or knowing is the same. Yet 80% of all the question, if you check the question, most of the question, spoken or written anywhere, it is the lower order cognitive skills. Mostly recall or remembering or by knowledge, by simply handling of restricted set of ideas, set of knowledges. So, in data, so if we develop students higher order cognitive skills, in that case we should enhance the metacognitive abilities and their learning. So, we should we should give the higher order cognitive level of questions to analyze something or to apply something. So, not that the what you know, or that is not the important. So, there is another taxonomy, we call it SOLO. SOLO is a true hierarchical taxonomy increasing in the quantity and the quality of thought. So, it is a powerful tool in differentiating curriculum and providing cognitive challenges for learners. It allows the teachers and learners to ask deeper questions without creating new ones, and it is a powerful metacognitive tool. First, I will explain what is that. SOLO is a structure of observed learning outcome. It is divided by Biggs and Collis. So, in that case, the SOLO is a framework of understanding. There are 5 levels in the SOLO taxonomy: PreStructural, unistructural, multistructural, relational and extended abstract. So, here what is that? It is a model of learning that helps to develop a common understanding and the language of learning that helps the teachers to understanding the learning process. How to evaluate the question paper or the learning process, this taxonomy is very important. Now, the SOLO learning process PreStructural, just here I am not sure about this subject, PreStructural. Here it means learning outcome shows unconnected information, no connection is there, unconnected, no organization. So, that is the SOLO, the first part, PreStructural. The next part is the unistructural. I have one idea about the subject and I am confident about the subject. So, that is the unistructural level. Learning outcome there shows simple connection, but importance not note. What is that? Student makes simple and obvious connection between the pieces of information, that only, that is the unistructural. But when it comes to the multistructural, I can see several ideas about the subjects, several ideas about the subject, where learning outcomes show connection are made, but significance to overall meaning is missing. They can't overall significance of the missing, that is missing, but there is a connection. So, a number of connections are made, but not the meta connection between them. These things are there, the meta connection, that is not between them, that is the multistructural level. But in the relational level, just see, there is that one relation, 3 level, that one relation that the students can do. So, I can link my ideas together to see a big picture. So, you can understand that unistructural and multistructural in the relation, when they can link the ideas, it is in the relational level. So, learning outcomes show full connection made and synthesize of the parts of the overall meaning. So, the students see the significance of the how various pieces their information are relate to one another. So, this level is higher than the multistructural level. And extended abstract level is that, here, that outside I can look at these ideas in a new and different ways. They can relate, and with the new ideas they can connect. So, that is the extended abstract level. So, here learning outcome, it go beyond the subject and makes links to the another concepts, right. So, at this level students can make connection beyond the scope of the problem of questions to generalize or transfer learning into a new situation. So, that is the highest level in the solo taxonomy. Just I will give an example. 4 questions in the solo model. You are given a machine that changes number. It adds the number you put in, multiples it 3 times and then adds 2 more. So, if you put 4, what will be? It puts out 14. So, if 14 was put out, what number was put in? It is there in the question. So, it is 4. If we put 5, the number, what number will the machine put out? So, in that case 5 into 3 plus 2, it is 17. So, in that case it is easy, it is the multistructural level from this side to that side. But the relational, if you get out the number 41, what number was put in? This outcome is 41. So, what number we put in? 17 into 3 plus. So, you are using the relational, that concept. So, that is the relational level. So, you put 13, that is why this is 41. But if y is the number that comes out on the machine, when the number is x is put in, write down the formula. In that case, y equal to 3x plus 2. So, that is a, you are developing a equation, an equation. So, it is that extended abstract concept. So, unistructural and multistructural level, these are lower order cognitive thinking skills, but relational and extended abstract is the higher order cognitive skills. So, in that case the solo taxonomy, what is the beauty of the solo taxonomy? The solo taxonomy helps the teachers, help the faculty members to develop the question which goes from the different levels, which can cater the different levels, right. The cognitive demand of the question we ask and scaffold students into deeper thinking and metacognition. So, here in this here I can see that uni, multi, relational and extended abstract, but the surface level, this relational and extended, this high level of activities is missing. So, how you create the deeper questions? Take a unistructural questions and then ask for at least 2 or more things. In that case, it will become a multistructural questions. Now, put the list of the things into the question. Now, ask what they have in common. In that case, the common means one relation will come. So, it will go to the relational level. And if you generate, if when the class event, personality rule, all this if you apply, if you generate list of possible wrong answers to go and the correct answers, you create a multi-choice questions, these things, and what is your idea about this, critically analyze these type of questions if you do, it will go to the extended abstract level. So, in any topic or anything, you can develop the questions from the unistructural to multistructural, multistructural to relational, and relational to extended abstract. And if you develop that, then only then only the students or the learners can think the higher order cognitive level of, they can analyze. Main thing is not the rote learning. Now the learners, they have to apply in their real life. So, this we should, as a teacher, we should help them to think the higher order cognitive level. So, these different, and we have to keep in mind that different 3 types of learners are there from the learning point of view. that the learning approaches point of view, deep learner, surface learner and the strategic and achiever, and how can we use the solo taxonomy to develop the and how the solo taxonomy is useful. Thank you.